You're welcome back to the AM show, and of course it's now time for the AM News with me, Noella Karanyali. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Dizoyohonu, has dispatched specialized officers and counter-terrorism units to Gbenyiri following deadly clashes over a land dispute which left 9 dead and 29 others injured. As tensions remain high in the farming community, residents are resorting to makeshift measures, donning red armbands, and marking your homes. Now, we'll take you live to the heart of the conflict where fear and uncertainty grip the community and hear from the IGP. But first, let's listen to some residents who tell us why they're wearing red armbands and marking their structures.
This red band, somewhere according to some influence, that if you don't tie the red bands, if somebody comes with you, you may not know the difference between we and our opponent. So we just tying the red means that we are not aware of the conflict. We are not aware of the conflict. Yeah. That is why we want to tie the red. They are separate ourselves from them.
Okay. From who?
From our enemies, those who are shooting the
Now, police in the Ashanti region are on high alert for possible reprisal attacks in recent clashes between youth groups at Kokode and Nwamase at the Kwadaso municipal of the Ashanti region. Now, it comes after intelligence that some of the youth at Nwamase are mobilizing themselves for a reprisal. An attack on the Nwamase community on Sunday resulted in the injury of one individual. Nanaya Aljima has visited the community and filed this report.
The renewed clashes started at Agrek Enzema in the Kwadaso municipality. A long-standing dispute between the youth of Nwamase and Kokode communities reignited at the funeral. Lucy Osei-Mensah is an eyewitness.
The guys from Kokode threatened to stab one of the guys. I proceeded to tell the guy who was the target, but they followed me there. Emma was also at the funeral and stepped in. In the process, he was cut in the head and rushed to the hospital.
On Sunday, a day after the first clash, armed men from Kokode besieged the injured person's home at Nwamase, forcing themselves into his room. The eyewitness, who doubles as the victim's girlfriend, says their room was pelted with stones and concrete blocks.
It's because 2 hours after we went into the room, they started pelting the roof with stones, calling Ima. I wanted to open, but Ima didn't allow it. When they succeeded in breaking into the room, they wanted to take him with them, but I prevented them. They started cutting him with the machetes. They told me they are going to kill him. He was cut multiple times. I was wounded in the process.
Next time, if I be my message, I'm smoking boy, and I'm saying, to what was the kind of trying to consay and bed now. You know, somebody say kind of charming.
The victim, Ima, is presently battling for his life at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, with medical staff recommending an immediate surgery. I am in front of the single-bedroom apartment where Ima lived with his girlfriend. Today, the place is empty. It's no longer habitable by the residents of this building. Now the wife and kids are no longer here because almost everything within the room is destroyed. The roof itself has been taken off, the ceiling in there completely destroyed, and the place is full of stones and blocks that were used to break in by these young men. Also, the belongings or the properties of Ima are now stained with blood. The walls and almost everything in the room has been destroyed. Other buildings around Ime's one-bedroom apartment were destroyed by the aggrieved youth. JoyNews investigations have revealed the victim spent 7 years on remand for allegedly shooting one of the youth of Kokode in the eye in an earlier disturbance.
And 10 years in the boy Nakochamu remand 7 years. Opia Kronya Wanya Brandis one tears on another job when it's going free into obey any BS.
The recent attack has left residents of the communities living in fear. Assemblyman for Nwamase, Kofi Ejapon, says the police have received the information and are on alert for such attempts.
The
police promised to keep patrolling the area. They made me speak to the regional commander who has promised to visit the community.
Meanwhile, the Municipal Security Council is scheduled to meet on the matter. For JoyNews, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Now, away from that, the Central Regional Branch of the National Disaster Management, I'm talking about NADMO, has stepped up its fight against illegal stand winning along the Gbenyiri beach and surrounding areas within the Gbenyiri East District. Now, during a decisive operation supported by the media, Regional Director Emmanuel Mensah Dawood described the activity as a ticking time bomb, warning that without urgent and firm intervention, the destructive practice could result in irreversible man-made tragedies. Abigail Isel Nkrumah has more on the following report.
The Gbenyiri beach has become a hotspot for illegal sand-winning activities, prompting the Central Regional NADMO to take swift action against the menace. During the operation in the Gbenyiri East District, the Central Regional Director of NADMO, Emmanuel Mensah Dawood, called on traditional authorities in the area to collaborate with the regional NADMO to stop the illegality to prevent potential disasters.
This devastation is a ticking time bomb that will not sit down for the natural and a man-made disaster of this magnitude to erupt before we take action. That is why, after extensive hazard identification strategy deployed by the Regional NADMO Directorate, we are here again with the press to highlight the extent of devastation occasioned by some unpatriotic citizens and entrepreneurs who, for their short-term economic interests, have decided to resort to illegal sand-winning activities at Gbenyiri Beach and its surrounding areas to the detriment of the environment, posing serious risk associated with tidal waves, sea erosion, and its associated concomitant.
The District Chief Executive of Gbenyiri East District, Margaret Nana Akom, issued a stern warning to perpetrators with a promise of severe punishment for culprits.
Illegal sand winning in Gbenyiri East. This is a signal and a strong warning to each and everyone. Anyone who will be caught, physical or even spiritual, we are not going to spare you. As we are speaking, we are going to speak with the DISEC, being the chairperson for the DISEC, and then the NADMO, and then the Regional Security Council. We are going to patrol the seaside 24/7. Anyone who will be caught, that person will find him or herself in danger. We are going to work with you 24/7, and if you are being caught, seriously, we will not spare you. We are going to make sure that we use the law against whoever will be caught.
Sophie Panford is the Executive Director of WDB Investments Limited. He laments how sand winning is affecting his business operations.
We own about 1,064 acres of land. We started from the shoreline all the way to the Pentecost Convention Center. Just as you people are witness here, the sand winning is really affecting our business. As I speak with you, we brought about 3 investors, billionaires, to this side to help us develop the place. But because of the sand winning, when they come, they go back. We are begging them that after selling this land to us, they shouldn't destroy the business for which we came here, but we put in money. The company has really put in money here. And so this sand winning is really destroying the business that we are in. So that is our appeal to them.
From Gbenyiri, Abigail Isel Nkrumah reports for JoyNews.
And the National Lottery Authority, NLA, has shaken up Ghana's Lotto industry with a new licensing initiative aimed and weeding out unregistered operators. At a briefing in Accra, the authority said the initiative will tighten oversight of agents, citing inconsistencies in revenue data and a need to restore order in the sector. My colleague Jacqueline Ansomayabua has more.
Ghana's Lotto industry has operated in a grey zone where licensed and unlicensed agents compete side by side. While the National Lottery Authority remains the sole body mandated to regulate the space, the rise of private operators and street-level writers has created loopholes, revenue leakages, and accountability concerns. It is against this backdrop that the NLA has announced a new licensing initiative aimed at sanitizing the sector and tightening oversight of all Lotto agents. According to the Director General, Mohammed Abdul Salam, all Lotto agents will now be required to secure proper licenses before serving customers.
It is difficult to just go out there chasing after people in the name of ensuring that you are going after those who have flouted the rules and are engaged in the sale of what you call a banker-to-banker lottery, which is not registered with the NLA. Because we have certificated and licensed people to sell Lotto that is operated by the NLA, it is sometimes different to distinguish between those who are actually selling for the regulated collaborators and those who are engaged in illegal sale of lottery.
The NLA boss also revealed troubling disparities. While private Lotto agents declared the number of writers they employ, the figures didn't match the revenue returns they submitted.
One of the requirements was for the private operators to provide data of the number of writers they have. If you use those projections against what they send as returns in terms of what we operate, there's a huge disparity, meaning an operator could have reported to anybody that have up to about 5,000 writers. But in actual fact, in their operations, we report 1,500, 1,200. So we want to be able to rely on accurate data.
To back its directive with action, the NLA held a live demonstration showing Lotto agents exactly how to register on the platform. The authority says this licensing drive is crucial to restoring public confidence and protecting both players and state revenue, insisting that only those who comply will be allowed to operate in the Lotto space. For JoyNews, I'm Jacqueline Ansomayabua.
Now, government is pledging support for youth-led and data science innovations that strengthen Ghana's data collection system. Now, Vice President Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman made the pledge at the Pre-Global Data Festival Ghana High-Level meeting, and the gathering designed, I should say, to elevate political engagement around data in Africa, while highlighting Ghana's leadership in the evolving continental data space. Shared concerns where it was raised about over reliance on artificial intelligence and foreign-generated data. The Vice President emphasized the need for Ghana to generate its own data to protect national interest.
Ghana will continue to showcase her best practices and innovations, from tax data modernization of the Ghana Revenue Authority through the use of mobile data for sustainable statistics and disaster reduction planning, to innovation in data science, machine learning, and others. We will continue to elevate the voices of our youth and data scientists, many of whom are already building impactful solutions in agriculture, climate, public health, and land restoration. We are very proud of that. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, let us approach today's deliberations with clarity and resolve. Time is running out on the targets we agreed and set for the SDGs. But our innovation, unity, and commitment can push us forward. Let us reaffirm our commitment to investing in the data proficiency of our institutions and embedding evidence in policy making. We must arrive at a destination where data are not something done exclusively for us or about us, but also generated by our people, governed by us, and used in our service. When we meet again next year at the festival, it should be to celebrate our progress and to show that the Global South has taken its rightful place in the global data movement.
And that's it for the first part of the news. But of course, Business Update comes up next with Samuel Kujobrace.
Well, the Bank of Ghana has charged all institutions in the remittance space to desist from engaging in unfair market prices. The warning was contained in the upgraded guidelines for payment service providers in the remittance business in the country. We have more in the following report.
The Bank of Ghana in the updated guidelines says some of these practices that it sees as unfair are when a market player tries to offer payment rebate, commissions, or preferential arrangement that confer undue advantage, which could go a long way to distort market conditions. The regulator says it will not hesitate to sanction any institution engaging in such practices. This is because such conduct are inconsistent with the fair trade rules that guides the practice of players in the sector. On remittance inflow, the Bank of Ghana reminded these firms that all foreign currencies received should also find their way back to the country to the account of their partner commercial banks. The updated guidelines also pushes for some transparency in terms of disclosing to the Bank of Ghana all their partner institutions outside the country. Now, these firms should also be licensed by their respective regulators and must abide by all the anti-money laundering regulations. The payment service providers and money transfer operators are also required to have a settlement account here in Ghana with a universal bank where all their inflows will come in to aid their settlement. On foreign currency rate for settlement, the Bank of Ghana directed these institutions to explore the average operating rate by trading platform Bloomberg or anyone that will be prescribed by the central bank.
Away from that, government is on course to save about $300 million from the debt restructuring agreement with the independent power producers. This milestone will significantly reduce the debt owed IPPs by 20% to reach $1.2 billion from an initial $1.5 billion. This was disclosed by Ben Boachi, a key member of the board tasked to mediate the negotiations with the IPPs. He made the announcement at the Future of Energy conference organized by the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP.
It's still work in progress, and we appreciate the commitment of government to engage multiple stakeholders to find solutions to the problems of the energy sector. And we've been privileged to be one of the organizations that are at the forefront of supporting the ministry to relook at the cleanup of the power sector in general. And one of the jobs has been to look at the IPPs, engage them in good faith negotiations on their outstanding debt. I mean, the commitment of government is to be able to treat the debt that we have it, then be able to structure a payment mechanism to deal with the outstanding debt. What we have done so far is to agree with a lot of the IPPs on a structure of payment, averagely 4 years to 5 years payment plan to be able to amortize the debt, and also in return get some concession from them. I must say that the IPPs have been very magnanimous. Even though we have a binding contract and agreements with them, they've been magnanimous to give us some haircut, which I'm sure the minister would announce at some point. But we are just happy to help, as we always do.
How much could the country save with this arrangement?
We're looking close to about $300 million on the debt, and also over $1 billion in future payments. But at this point, we are close to $200 million, I suppose, and I'm sure by the end of the day we will be able to give the gross figure as to what has been achieved so far.
And that's how we conclude the AM news for today. There's coming up next year on the show is AM Sports. It is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. Rain or shine, Syntex tank has got your back. So go outside, check your tank, and if it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call 0244-335168 to buy now, or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, tough. Well, MFA Adeti, always looking sweet is here. Good morning. Oh, MFA Adeti. Oh, MFA Adeti. Is that how you like?
Very much like it.
Okay.
Good morning to you. Time now for news review. Biggest story today we shall be reviewing, but we've got Dr. Asante, Head Center for European Studies. You find him at the University of Ghana. Suleiman Brahima, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa, joining us for news review, and as well Dr. Jabil Mohammed, economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Kujo, we've got the Daily Graphic, I've got the Ghanaian Publisher. What do you have with you?
I have the Daily Guide, I have the Daily Gist, and the Custodian. So these are the three papers I have. I think we'll get into the papers.
Absolutely.
But, let's give, as we do always, 2 minutes maximum each to our panel so that they can share what they want Ghanaians to know even before we get into the papers. Let's start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante. What is it that you want to talk about even before we delve into what the papers are reporting?
Good morning, Kojo. Good morning to MFA and, of course, my colleagues online. Also, greetings to our viewers. This morning, I'm looking at something simple, but it's not that simple. What am I looking at? I'm looking at the Beiri Dam spillage and the threats that it poses to human lives and property. This is of much importance to me in the sense that every year we see this ritual, dam spillage, arable lands destroyed, human lives threatened, and the rest of it. But what is the solution? We always talk about it and go to sleep. The real solution, if you talk to people on the ground, they will tell you, is the construction of the Pualugu Dam. That dam, if constructed, would take this volume of water, make use of it, and the excess will be used for irrigation. That would turn the fortunes of the north round. And the rest of the water, which can be contained by the dam, will now be moved onto Akosombo. And Akosombo, because it has been handled at this level, Akosombo will be able to contain it for onwards passage to Pom Dam and all that. So you talk to people who are experts on the ground, they will tell you that the construction of the Pualugu Dam is the sine qua non to dealing with this problem. And why is my country failing in this? You and I are alive to the fact that $12 million has gone into the dam. And up to date, we don't have evidence of that. I want to use this occasion to tell government that whoever is responsible for the construction of the dam, which we never had, must be able to answer questions. We call on government. We want to ensure that every money that we have sunk into any public projects, we must ensure value for money. And I will make sure that together with like-minded people, will rise up and then ask for this money to be used for the construction. We need the dam because look, the spillage of the water is threatening over thousands of people's lives there. Not to talk of over 200 acreage of land, arable land, that faces threats from this water. Why are we doing this thing to ourselves when we know there is a solution?
Okay.
Please, Mr. President, Please, government, please rise up and make sure that we get the Palugu down.
Okay, grateful to you. Let me bring in, Dr. Jabir Mohammed, who's an economist at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, maximum of 2 minutes, your reflections.
Okay, good morning to you, and good morning to my colleagues and all our listeners. This morning, I have 2 simple issues to discuss. One has to do with the security situation in Savannah, specifically Swala Tuna constituency. I think recently 6 people were killed, or 3 people or so, as a result of a land dispute. And I hear that the people are seeking refuge at the police station. I want to charge the security agencies to act as a matter of agency to bring the situation to a halt. It should not be like what we have in Boku. We have to work very hard to resolve the problem as soon as possible, so before it escalates to the challenges that we may have in Boku. Now, the second issue I want to talk about is the electricity gas swap that the Ministry of Energy is trying to do with the people of Nigeria. In Nigeria, I think currently they just supply electricity to about 65% of their population, which means that there is still about 70% of their population still living without electricity. I believe that this is something that Ghana can leverage on. They supply the gas to us, we supply the electricity. There is a difference between them. We call it the crack spread margin. So if Ghana can leverage on that, we are going to be able to resolve our challenges. In the first place, Ghana is trying to come out with a 24-hour economy, which is already in stream, and we need electricity to be able to power that. So if we have constant supply of gas from Nigeria, then we do that better trade with them. At the end of the day, Ghana is going to benefit out of it. So I charge the Ministry of Energy to fast-track the deal and ensure that the deal works and works efficiently.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jabil. Time for us to bring in the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Ibrahima. So, Chief, 2 minutes maximum to have your reflections.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Doc and...
So two doctors, Dr. Jabir and Dr. Asante.
From the University of Ghana. It's a pleasure to be with you, and good morning to our viewers and listeners. I think that my colleagues have raised 2 important issues, but to a large extent, whether it's the conflict, the electricity for gas, or the Beiri Dam, a lot of it has to do with how we are managing our resources. A lot of the communal violence we are experiencing across the country is as a result of the pressures of poverty, the access to land for economic activity, and all of that. And for me, it all comes down to how we are managing our resources. And this is critical to me because as I continue to review reports, review contracts, and all of that, I see how much this country is throwing away. I see how much is being looted from this country. I see how much people are stealing from this country. And I believe that if this government indeed wants to do a reset, and it's not a slogan, a lot can be done to solve many of our problems. Unfortunately, it appears there is a pattern where people in this government are perhaps even more secretive than the previous regime, under which a lot of the deals that we are talking about happened. And one wonders why. I keep asking, why are officials of this government unprepared to expose some of the things that happened in the past, even when it's on the basis of people pushing for such information? When they assumed power at first, we heard about, ECG containers, this number is missing, ECG this, cocoa jute sacks have done this, have done that. Apparently, all those were just to raise alarm for whatever reasons. Otherwise, what happened to those things? I believe that it will serve this country well if this government indeed goes on the reset agenda with transparency and accountability. Otherwise, we'll end up being at the same place that we are coming from, that we've been lamenting, and our problems will never be resolved. I would encourage that transparency is the deal if indeed we want to reset.
All right, thank you very much. Let me get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Now, we are going to talk about the outbreak North because there's an update on it. But there's a story that caught my attention here. A farmer kills son for money rituals. And the story is by Emmanuel Opoku, Elder Emmanuel Opoku from Takrade. Says residents of Adidase in the Wassa Amenfi district of the Western region were thrown into a state of shock when news reached them after a popular farmer in the area had allegedly killed his son, his 6-year-old son, for money rituals. The farmer, Abdul Salam, 31, allegedly murdered his son by purportedly severing his head with a knife. And this farmer turned around to inform the community that he cannot find the son. So the community went around the whole area to check where the son is. Now, they say, according to the paper, when they couldn't find the boy, then it prompted them to question the father further. Now, this is a quote from them. So during the interrogation, Abdul Salam confessed murdering his son. He also stated that he wanted to use the severed head and feet for money rituals. Unquote, they disclosed. They could not fathom why Salam could commit such heinous crime. Quote, if he had gotten the money, will he have enjoyed it after killing his son? Unquote, they quizzed. I mean, I was disturbed, and I was asking myself, how could someone in this day and age kill the son purportedly for money rituals? I don't know about you, Dr. Sasante. I mean, how does this come to you that in this day and age, some people are still harboring the intentions of killing their own children for money rituals?
It's a sad story by all standards. And the good news about this story is that it is now with the police and it's at the appropriate forum. Obviously, I'm sure by now they are in court or they are heading for court. I will leave it at that. But I want to look at it, not the specific case we are looking at, but generally. Okay. The lust for money and the things that we do for money. It's a tall order, but time will not permit us. But I will do something small relative to this. Look, families are broken down. Socialization has been thrown to the dogs, where we teach children the basics of lives, the do's and don'ts. Then they grow, they get this socialization, get topped up at school level, at public places, so that they become fit for society. We have abandoned all this. Today, all that families are looking for is money, 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 and means for survival. It is true, we have to survive, but we have to teach the children the basics of life, things that are no-go areas, things that we accept as a society, so that we don't allow them to grow only to get to tertiary level of their schools, and then we begin to inculcate these values in them. Of course, we will not get the results that we want. We need to be able to do this from the word go. So I would urge education sector or education ministry to let these things find expression, the socialization in our curriculum. It is important from basic to tertiary. And then also let us continue that advocacy about the need to live an exemplary life. The need to work hard for a living. Okay. And then also we'll urge government to be able to when we work, government must also pay us our due. Okay. Once we get the basic rights, I am sure we'll be able to deal with some of these problems. It's going to take us a long time, but 1,000 miles journey begins with a step. Let's begin the step today.
Okay. Now, in the same Daily Guide newspaper on page 6 says, 8 convicted of Ablekuma North violence. Now, 8 persons arrested in connection with violence that characterized the parliamentary election rerun in Ablekuma North last month have been convicted by a circuit court in Accra. They all pleaded guilty to the 4 count of conspiracy, and the court, presided over by His Honor Isaac Addo, convicted them on their own plea, but deferred the sentencing to Friday, August 29, 2025. However, the court, after convicting the 8, granted them a bail of 80,000 Ghana cedis each, pending the sentencing, a decision that many have described as strange. I mean, does this bring closure? Let me start with you, Mr. Suleiman Abrahima. Does this bring closure to the whole issue about Ablekuma North and the violence that erupted or that characterized the rerun of those elections there? Mr. Brahma, maybe you'd have to unmute so we can hear you.
Yeah, I guess you can hear me now.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. So I was saying that certainly we have to wait for the sentencing because that's when we're going to have the ultimate decision of the court. At this stage, we don't know what will happen. We've had cases where people, commit all manner of infractions. They admit to it, plead guilty, are convicted, and in the end are made to pay 2,000 or 2,500 cedis each, which certainly wouldn't constitute something that you would say would be punitive enough. And so we'll wait for the decision of the court. But I think what is gratifying is the fact that we've seen these people facing prosecution. Arrest, and prosecution. In the past, I think that the situation was different. We even had a situation where people on the basis of political party affiliation had the courage to storm a court in Kumasi to free people, their colleagues who were standing trial, and all of that. So this certainly is a departure from what had happened in the past. I don't know for sure, but I want to believe that in most cases, these acts are committed by persons who are associated with the ruling party and believe that the power that the ruling party has would protect them. And so in this case, if that happened to have been the case, and people did that thinking that they are doing so to support their party, they want their party to win, and believing that whatever happened, the party will protect them. After all, the interior minister is a party person, the IGP is appointed by this government, the national security coordinator is appointed by this government and therefore a party person. And so what can happen to them? And then in the end, we see what we've seen. I think that is a positive direction. The only thing is we can wait for what the ultimate decision of the court would be. But I think this also sends a strong signal to what people should think in terms of what they plan to do, let's say, in Akwatia.
Yeah.
Because, again, this should send a signal to everyone that it doesn't matter that your party is in power. If you commit a crime, you'll be dealt with and the law will be enforced. And I think this is what we need for a democracy. This is what we need for our country to grow. So it's not the end yet. The end will be in the final judgment. But what has happened so far is positive, and we look forward to the final decision.
Thank you. Dr. Asante, I mean, I'm sure as Mr. Brahma put it, this serves a good tone ahead of the by-election in Akwatia.
Very well. He is spot on that. Because you see, when we say free and fair election, it's nothing but election devoid of irregularities, such as what? Violence, vote rigging, inducement, and the rest of them. We pretend to love democracy, but our attitude towards it is at variance with democratic ethos. We want to build this democracy. We want to support this democracy. But the very people who are saying this want to do things to undermine the very democracy we want to build. What kind of paradox is this? But look, election is not do or die affair. It's based on three things. What I call RSM, your resource, how you manage your resource effectively, both human and material. Your S, your strategy that you employ, that will elicit the number of votes that you need to be able to win the poll. And then 3, your message that you will churn out, that will resonate with the people for them to give you the votes. If you are able to do this, I think that all things being equal, you should carry the day. But people will not do homework on this, but rather take a different route and expect the same results. Obviously, you won't have that. Violence is not part of free and fair election. When you look at the indices of free and fair election, you should be able to educate your people very well, voter education. You should be able to, ensure that the election management body does its work and does it well. You should be able to know that the pre-election phase, there is an equal playing field for everybody. The election phase, what happens there, you are interested in. And then, of course, you are also preparing yourself for post-election phase. In all these 3 phases, you don't need violence. Violence is not part of it. And we want to encourage, lovers of democracy, those who are going to Akwetia, that they should be guided by this, that no free and fair elections has in it an inherent index of violence. No, there's nothing like that. Do your homework well, work well. And when you lose, you need to accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. That is it. I am happy with the decisions and the effort being put in by the IGP. I commend him and I support that. His men are on the ground, as it were, boots are on the ground. And they will make sure that any incorrigible person will be brought to book. And I like that. We should be able to ensure this. And we as a society must support the security people to work. Let us open our eyes and ensure that this election goes on without any incident. Because after all, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.
Right, maybe it's time to bring in Dr. Jabil. You can also start with the conviction of these 8 persons, and as well touch on the man who was allegedly murdered or killed his child for money ritual. But let's start with the applicable North we run.
Well, I think that this is one of the best decisions ever taken. I have seen on social media people have said that it is a wrong precedent that the NDC is taking, and I don't see that it's a wrong precedent. If you commit a crime, it is a crime you have committed. The law has to deal with you. I don't see the reason why people should commit a crime and at the end of the day, they are left to go scot-free. In the past, it has happened. It doesn't mean that we should continue the same way as stated earlier on. So I want to believe that this is a good signal so that Akwetia, nobody will misbehave there. If you misbehave, the police are there to arrest you. The court is there to work and ensure that you are sentenced and given the appropriate punishment. So this is a good step in the right direction. People are going to know that they cannot take the law into their own hands. And for that matter, they have to work and without any challenge in the process. Elections are won on the basis of strategy. They are won on the basis of competition. They are won on the basis of every effort that you may put on it. So if you fail to do your homework very well and you end up losing, just accept the defeat and walk away. Now, on the issue of the farmer killing the son for money rituals, they say money is the root of all evil. If not that, why would you have to murder your son, who is about 6 years old, just for money rituals? You are already a farmer. If you put in the best effort, if you put in the best strategies as a farmer, you are going to achieve, you are going to make a lot of money out of it. Why will you murder your son? And turn to the community to tell the community that your son is missing. And for that matter, the community should try to help you locate your son. Meanwhile, you have committed a heinous crime. I think that the law should deal with him. if the law deals with him well, next time nobody will want to do that. It is a break in social, fiber. If the society is vigilant about some of these things, I believe that it will stop. And also the education that we carry out in our televisions. There are people that we have left. We don't censor our televisions. There are people that we have left to come in to do all kinds of advertisement and say that there are money rituals. If you go to Facebook, some people will send you messages to tell you that they can create money for you. If you can create money for me, why don't you create money for yourself so that you become rich? So I think that people should not be gullible to some of these group of people. And the media in every locality must be censored against some of these things. If you don't continue to preach that on air, I don't think that people will fall foul to it. So let's work very hard. The media, the foundation, I'm happy that Mr. Brahma is here. They should pick it up so that most of these things are going to be censored. Also, I think the Minister of Communication must also wake up on this particular call so that we are able to prevent people from doing that. Even Facebook, we can block people who get engaged in some of these money rituals activities. If you are able to do that, I believe that we can bring a finality to some of these miscreants in the system.
Well, maybe let's bring Suleiman Abrahima in here. You've heard the story. You've also talked about the 8 persons who've been charged. But let's talk about this gentleman. At least in a year, you'd hear 1 or 2 of such stories reported in the media. What exactly are we doing wrong?
Well, I think that we cannot put out blame on media. But of course, I think that there have been occasions where the media have also done things that cannot be excused. We remember the Kaswa incident, and ultimately the young boys attributed it to something that they had watched on television, where people were promising that if they were able to bring human body parts, they were going to do something for them to become rich or something like that. I think the fundamental problem with our media ecosystem is that it is unregulated. As we speak in Ghana, I say it all the time that we may have a media regulator on paper, but in practice, we don't have a media regulator. People do what they want. The only part that is regulated is the frequency that is used. So you cannot just grab a frequency, 99.7, and start broadcasting. You cannot grab a television spectrum or frequency spectrum and start televising. That is impossible. So that aspect of managing the frequencies of the nation is regulated. But that is not media regulation. That is just spectrum regulation. The media regulation in relation to content regulation is what we don't have. The National Media Commission is created by the Constitution to ensure the highest and the best journalistic practice and ensure professionalism and ensure independence of the state media, ensure that editors are not censored, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I don't think that the National Media Commission has been up to the task over the years. Unfortunately, again, there has been an effort for the last 2 decades to have a broadcasting law in place. I am told that in the early days of the effort, the independent broadcasters or private broadcasters were not happy with the measure. I think we've gotten to a point where private broadcasters that are really interested in doing professional work are the ones who should be pushing for the passage of the broadcast law. But as we speak, we don't have it, and people can just rely on their own convictions, whether what they do is right or what they do is not right. But you cannot manage the media ecosystem that way. Okay. And then, as Dr. Kabiru said, there's also the social media where people can do anything with YouTube, Facebook videos, TikTok, and so on, which even goes far and far, sometimes even more than your television can go, because those things can be done in even local languages. Television maybe is in English and then some of the dominant languages, but YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp videos, and so on can all be done with local language. And that means that the grandmother, the people in the villages who may not have gone to school, cannot understand English, or may not even understand Tree, can also have content that they can fully understand. And I think that it all comes down to regulation. As a serious country, we need to begin to look at how we regulate the media space properly. Free media does not mean free to do anything. The constitutional provisions is not about freedom to be irresponsible. It's all about freedom to be responsible, freedom to hold government accountable, freedom to serve the public interest, and so on and so forth, which is what we have not done properly. And I think we need to go back to the drawing board and ensure that we do the right thing.
Okay, time for us to bring in Lawyer Martin Pebu into the Ablikuma North update we've had. Lawyer, I'm grateful to you for joining. Now, according to the Daily Guide, the court, after convicting the 8, granted them a bail of 80,000 Ghana cedis, pending the sentencing, which has been scheduled for Friday, August 29, 2025. But this decision some people see as strange. You are a lawyer, you can help us appreciate this better. Is there anything strange about the decision by the court to, grant them a bail of 80,000 cedis each pending the sentencing?
Not at all. Okay. Not at all. Okay. There's nothing strange about the bail, this particular case. It's always been our that bail can be granted at any stage of the proceedings. Could you let's emphasize? Bail can be granted at any stage of the proceedings. Okay. And let me the law. I can't read. I mean, at least I'll get one of them to read for you. So we have Section 96 of the Act 30. Act 30 is long name is, or let me say full name is, the Criminal and Other Offences into brackets Procedure Act 1960 into brackets Act 30. So you see from its name, and it didn't even start in 1960, but let's say this is the current one we are using. Before this one, there was a previous one, okay? So the same thing. So it says that subject to this section, a court may grant bail to a person who appears or who is brought before it on a process or after being arrested without warrant, and who, and this is my emphasis, who is prepared at any time or at any stage of the proceedings or after conviction pending an appeal to give bail, and then B, enters the bond. That's so when the judge gives you, he says 80,000, this is, and you agree and fulfill it, right? So you see that the law allows even after conviction. You see how already, even after conviction is allowed. Now, the main reason the court will grant bail even after conviction is that usually the number one factor you look at is the severity of the offense. In other words, how hefty would the punishment be? So let's give an example. If, let's say, the person was standing a trial for robbery. Robbery under law, we have two types. Either if you use your mouth to say, hey, give me your phone. Okay, a robber comes, give me your phone. Otherwise, I'll slap you. Or otherwise, I'll kick you. Or otherwise, I would expose you so and so and so. Because he used his mouth, he didn't have any tool at all. Under the law, the minimum will be 10 years. So if a judge were to convict somebody of robbery today, and then the person didn't use any tool, he just used his mouth and his hands, or he actually beat the person to collect the money or whatever, then minimum 10 years. So when you are giving such a person bail, hey, the judge is not likely, because the minimum the judge can do is 10 years. When that accused walks out of the court, the lawyer will explain, if he has a lawyer, the lawyer will explain that today, my Lord says after everything you are guilty. It means that if you are lucky, God is on your side, the minimum is 10 years. The maximum there can go up to 50, 70 years. You remember those days you hear somebody sentenced 80, 90 years. Good. So that's just one example. So you see the punishment. The law has said that if the judge comes to a conclusion that the person is guilty, the minimum is what? 10 years. That's without a weapon. But if, let's say, he was holding even a stick, if he used a cane to hit the, the victim to collect, cane, not even a gun or a cutlass, cane. Once it's anything outside your physical body, you use an external implement to help you. The minimum will be 15 years. So you see that we set a thing. The judge is not likely to grant bail unless the person is so known and has high ties with the country, with Ghana. Maybe the person is very, very popular, but, something happened and everybody knows that, he cannot run out of Ghana, etc. You see, so what I'm saying is that there are many other factors, but the key thing the judge will be looking at is that, the punishment I'll be giving the next day, is it so high that if this person hears it, and especially as that one, the judge's hands have been tied. These 10 years without a weapon and 15 years, even if you are using a cane or even you use a pen or even a blade to intimidate the person, 15 years. These ones, if the person hears and he doesn't have ties, God forgive me, I'm not demeaning unemployed person, but let's say he's unemployed, no wife and children, nothing in life, he's more likely to run. So the judges look at those factors. Okay. But this particular one that the court had, you see that assault and those ones, even the law allows that you would be able to settle the case out of court. You see that thing?
Okay. But lawyer, yes. I mean, for those of us who are not lawyers, we need some education. Can we say the court has convicted them when it has not brought the sentencing? I mean, it has not really sentenced them. Can we say the court has convicted them when the sentencing has not been read?
Yes, absolutely. And after that, let me come back and explain the assault well. Yes, let me just illustrate. Yes, conviction means that the court has come to a stage where, upon examination of the evidence, everything, you are guilty. Now, when it comes to sentencing, we don't usually, unless, yes, of course, the law allows that sentencing means punishment. Punishment is another trial. If we are going by the books, if we want to do strict law, okay, sometimes we don't do it strictly. The punishment phase is also another trial. So let me explain to you. Before the judge will punish, okay, usually they have to adjourn so that the police will go and do their searches to know. They'll check their database. Has this man been convicted before? And also, they are supposed to even, properly speaking, prepare reports. For those, let me quickly maybe give a famous example. Maybe some people can collect. Is it Oscar Pistorius?
Yeah.
The
South African
the Blade Runner who killed his wife, right? Was a girlfriend. So you see that they finished convicting him, and it took several months again. And then check many other celebrities. There are, I think there's another popular celebrity somewhere who has been convicted, but the sentencing is going to take several months. Yes, so it's to make sure that they will prepare a report, etc. But Ghana, naturally, we are behind. So a lot of the things, we are not able to do them like the Western world will do. But henceforth, every time you would hear that so and so has been convicted, but the sentencing will come, some 6 months, some 1 year later, before they will go and do the sentencing, because they are preparing reports, psychological reports, they are checking criminal records, then you see other people weighing, etc. So it's the same thing. We have the blueprint on our law, except that, we like to do fast. But if, let's say, maybe the person is sick, etc., and he has lawyers, they might have to say, no, we want to take an adjournment for this X, Y, Z. He's sick, let him seek medical care and finish and come and all that. So it's also in the law. All right. So now let's come back to the offense. I'm saying that under our law, it's called the Court Act. That one, to once again, over 30 years old, so it's older than a lot of people in Ghana. 1993, Act 459. Under the law, it is stated that when it comes to assault, etc., we are even allowed to settle. So assault, when I say assault, so could you touch wood? Maybe you slap this in Kingsley. Okay, if you slap Kingsley, he goes to the police station, the case goes to court. Rather than even the judge saying, go into the case, you call your witnesses, etc. The judge can, Kingsley can plead through his lawyer, or even if he doesn't have a lawyer, and if he knows enough, or let's say the judge wants to, intervene, they will say go to ADR. So at the ADR, Kingsley can apologize, etc. Maybe if this thing, I said, could you slap Kingsley? Yes, Kingsley slapped you, could you? Which one did I do?
I slapped Kingsley.
So you slapped him. So if he lost one or two teeth, etc., then you offer to pay the medical bills, the taxi fare, or if you use his car, you pay petrol, blah, 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 and apologize, and you accept it. You come back to court. They will not record, Kingsley will not plead guilty. They will just say he should go. But of course, this one, the reason everybody wants the guilty plea to go on the record, and that's what is rightly done, is that we want to send a strong signal to society that this electoral violence must stop. Okay. Electoral violence must stop. Electoral violence must stop. Otherwise, this saying to you and Kingsley, you can slap Kingsley, injure him, and yet when it goes to court, you go to ADR, plead, pay petrol, pay medical bills, etc. You come back, then they will say, okay, case finished. No conviction for Kingsley.
Lawyer, please, some education here. I would have thought that when it's a criminal case, it's between you and the state. Has the law outlined the particular type of, particular kind of law that allows you to use ADR in criminal proceedings or in criminal charges?
Excellent. Yes. Short answer, yes. So let's go over. So then, so you mean the particular kind of offenses that you can use ADR? Yes. Those particular, there are different types. But the first one is called the misdemeanors. Okay. So in Ghana, please, let's watch this. What we call misdemeanor in Ghana, the meaning can vary, okay, in listen, or it can mean something else in another country when it comes to the punishment. But in Ghana, when you hear misdemeanor, it means that the punishment from 0, okay, 1 up to, 3 years imprisonment. So they just find the person 12 Ghana. If they say the lowest fine is 12 Ghana cedis, because one penalty in our law is equal to 12 cedis. So the lowest fine you can get is 12 cedis if it has to be a fine. And on and on and on. Okay. Up to a maximum, if the judge says, okay, go into jail, up to a maximum of 3 years. So for any offense that they tell you that it is a misdemeanor, meaning that you can be punished through a fine and then etc. Or if you are going to jail, maybe 1 day in jail, 2 days in jail, etc. You remember, was it Shatawale or who was that? Somebody, the ganja one, the weed in Kumasi. Was it Shatawale or somebody was sent to jail?
I think it's Kwadaso.
That would be Kwadaso.
Excellent. You see it. Yes, so you see he was in jail for just a very brief period. Yeah. Right? So those are allowed under the law. But I'm not saying so the ganja one, that one, yes. So you see how the judge reduces. So that's the discretion. So we are repeating that for misdemeanor, from all the small things up to the maximum that the judge can give is 3 years. Okay? 3 years. Okay. Or you just say payment of compensation. Or they will just say, look, okay, we will let the social welfare people come and supervise you for some time, etc. Okay?
Okay.
So it's part of our law. It's always been that misdemeanors. There are other ones. You also hear plea bargaining. So even what do you call it, under OSP, corruption offences, under we have a new law that allows plea bargaining. Yes, all those. If let's say you have big evidence on the person, yes, you go and give the police. If they look at it, they can turn and then use that person as a prosecution witness rather than prosecuting him.
Okay.
So it's not your classical ADI.
Okay.
I'm saying that, yes, you can use it to bargain.
Okay.
It's not every time that when a person commits an offense, that person will go to jail.
I mean, finally, so we'll let you go, and thank you for your time. But for predictability of the law, what kind of sentencing do you anticipate these 8 persons will be handed over?
Wow. We are using electoral violence and also violence generally is such a nature. I do not readily, let me see, the closest, you see, Ayawaso West Wagon. I'm trying to see parallel situations. Akufo-Addo didn't see to the prosecution of the people. Double and etc. Double Akomia, and Akomia, then the Mohammed something. Those, one of them was to be prosecuted. Then the other one, further investigation. Akufo-Addo, as president, gave them sucker. He didn't see to the prosecution. There was a by-election, etc. Right? The next one I can compare with is Kumasi, the judge, Justice Yenzu, when the Delta Force and their people attacked the judge. They got what? Fine. Yes. Okay, so we are a democracy. On the basis of this, if it went in the direction of a fine, it would be okay. You see, what we are doing is that at this stage, we are still giving ourselves a lot of education. Our manners are evolving, okay? Our manners are evolving. Looking at the way we've cautioned those people, we've condemned them over several months, and the way the police service itself has lost a lot of reputation, the government itself has lost reputation. All those things are the naming and shaming. All those things are forms of punishment. So many people have also been punished directly or indirectly, right? Their records have been bloated. So if the judge were to give a fine, it's okay. We are drawing a line under this. A time will come, let's say, if it were to continue, it will be very clear that as a society, we'll be demanding a jail term. But this one, I don't get the sense that, you see, we are trying to be objective, not taking partisan lines. Of course, if you ask people of a certain political persuasion, they will be saying, no, the person should go to jail. I don't want to do equalization, except that those of that political persuasion who want a jail term, they should remember that Ayawaso West Wagon was here. When the short commission report came out, they should prosecute. They didn't do. They should investigate the other person. They didn't do. So anytime they are asking, those people are asking for jail terms, I beg them, thankfully in Ghana, crime has no expiry date. They should go and start from the Ayawaso West Wagon report. They should do justice to it and then come back here so that here, when they see they want to jail term, I'm sure we can all listen.
Thank you.
But before you go, Dr. Asa Asante wants to ask you a question, so please. Dr. Asante, you have the floor now. Lawyer Martin Pebu is listening.
Lawyer, good morning, and good to hear from you. I want to find out, in this violence issue, can plea bargaining could also be applied? I need education on that.
Yes. So simple answer is yes on the facts of this particular case. So how it will apply is that, assuming, those that have been put before the court, okay, who have pleaded guilty, assuming there were more, but the police didn't know. So one of the accused persons, let's say when he was arrested, etc., he would then be able to say, look, you know what, if you agree not to prosecute me, I will give you information, the ring leader. So let's even say that the person who masterminded, etc., was not part of the arrested person. They don't even know. Yes, he could have, the plea bargaining law, we've now made it express. You are allowed to bargain, so that you make an offer to the police. Now look, if you agree, I will give you this and this information. Those of the people, these people who are arrested are the underlings. There's this big man, this politician who called us and organized and did this. So if you agree not to prosecute me, I'll reveal his name. This. Yes, and so it could have been done. So under a plea bargaining law, it's allowed. You can use it. And then, like we've already said, fortunately for them in this case, it's even a misdemeanor that they could have also used the ADR.
I'm grateful, lawyer.
We're grateful to you, Lawyer Martin Pebu, for your time here. Yeah.
Right, maybe, Dr. Jabi, if we have you, please react to, I mean, I always like to prefix my question when it comes to law is predictability of the law. Lawyer Martin Pebu thinks that a fine will be good, considering history, precedents. A fine for these particular charges will be good. Do you agree?
Well, he's the lawyer, and he has spoken the law. And listening to him carefully, I just realized that is possible. And one profound thing he also said is that, you know, Ayawaso West were gone, by-election issues are still there. We haven't yet prosecuted the people. So if we want to do similar thing to these people, then we have to bring them back and do similar thing to them. And I agree with him that they must also be dealt with. The law is still a law. Even if it is going to take you 100 years for your case to be called back, to be re-investigated, then it should be in. I remember that when the government came into office, he asked the IGP to investigate the killers of the 8 people in Tochima North or Tochima South. I believe that these things are still relevant. And I think that we have to revisit the West Ogon case and also deal with it as it may be. The fine will be good because they are already fined about 80,000 Ghana cedi each. And I believe that if they pay that fine, next time people will not get themselves engaged in this. Even if somebody had decided to send you, just like he said, there is something in economics, game theory, we call it the prisoner dilemma. That is what he's trying to employ in the law, where he's asking the people that if somebody has decided, okay, fine, I'll give you an information of a big man or somebody of that nature who has gotten himself involved in what we did so that you can release me to go. That is like you are being compelled. Otherwise, you would not have done that. So that is something that I think that we can also employ to ensure that people who do the wrong thing behind the scenes are being exposed to the public when the needs arises. So if there were to be some people engaged in this behind the scene who have asked them to perpetrate the crime, they would expose the people. But strangely enough, you realize that it happens spontaneously because I think how Kumasi came there and something happened that led to what happened eventually. So I will not think that there were some people behind it who actually pushed them to do what they did. But they did that based on the exigency of the situation that called for it. And you know, people are already angry about what happened in Yawas West Ogon. So you cannot come here and play with them. That is why they took the law into their own hands. That is my own interpretation of it. But I don't think that there are people behind it who actually push the case. So I think that he's right. The 80,000 is enough. It's punitive enough to have corrected anybody again in future who want to get himself engaged in this kind of situation.
Okay. Well, let's do some politics. In front of the Daily Graphic this morning, it says that Kokode-Nwamase files for NPP flag bearer race. The details of this is on page 17 of the Daily Graphic. And before we get to that, just also to let you know that police deploy 300 personnel at Gbenyiri. IGP visits to assess the security situation as well. Ghana Gateway to Africa's markets. President Mahama to Singapore investors. But I'm curious about the Kwabena Japan files for NPP flag bearer race. Dr. Asante, I'll come to you on this. But Sulemana, let me have you, if you have been following the NPP presidential race, what does Kwabena Japan's decision to want to run for this race mean to the NPP as a political party in general? What do you think?
Well, I think Kwabena is a fine gentleman. He's been in politics for quite a long time now. Even in those days when it was Dubois, D.H. Mensah, Kufuor, and the rest competing for the flag bearer, he was young then, but from the records, you could see that he was very, very active, in playing roles at the time. And then President Kufuor became president and became press secretary for quite some time before later Mr. Andrew Zawuni took over. Since then, he became the general secretary of the party, was controversially removed by Kufuor and his people in a way that certainly was elements of the dictatorship in that that regime. And since then, he's remained quite active. I think this is not the first time he's trying to contest for the flag bearership of the party. I've had very respectable people say that he could have been even a better running mate to Dr. Bawumia than Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. And so I don't want to say that his chances may be limited, but he certainly is a fine gentleman if the party folks consider him worthy to lead the party. On the race, I'm just worried about the rhetoric that is emerging. People conducting themselves as if they are, or they were not in the same party and they are not in the same party. I think it's quite worrying. I would want to see a very decorous campaign, a campaign that is focused on issues, a campaign that is focused on ideas, perhaps as Dr. Bawumia said. But of course, in politics, you cannot also discount the other elements that are worthy of consideration. So if those people are bringing such sentiments up, I think it's about how they go about it at the end of the day. Politics is about winning. Politics is not just about having a candidate. And so people have their messaging, and I think that it's about how they put out those messages. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about MPP, it's about Ghana. And we want our country united to forge ahead. Okay.
Dr. Asante, this is your field, political science. And so I'm curious to hear from you. Kwabena Japan, does it look bright for him?
Oh, extremely so. Kwabena has a lot of qualities, very intelligent scholar, and very much experience. If you look at the people who are contesting now, I can tell you that he's more experienced than them in terms of party work. He has a work in the trenches with party boys, the rank and file. I mean, when he was the general secretary. So he's in touch with every party apparatchik in the nook and cranny of this country. That aside, you can also say that he has also worked as executive secretary to the president. He had the opportunity to know the workings of government, and that is the crux of the matter. That experience is critical when you want to occupy that highest office. You need knowledge and all that. He has also mentored a lot of people within the party and outside the party. And above all, he's a man of vision and ideas. He has a lot of great ideas. He's a party man through and through. Remember that this is an internal contest. Party people want to rally around somebody who's a party man. And then because he's in touch with them and he knows their needs and all that. And of course, he is molded in the fashion of the MPP, where public outbursts, you don't hear him in that corner. Unnecessary banter, you don't hear him. And if you follow MPP tradition, they like people like this. They are people that they really want to project and vote for them. And of course, he has served his party. If you look at Kwabena, I knew him from 1980s when it was difficult in the PNDC time to talk and to follow. He was following people like Nana Akufo-Addo, Edubuahing and co. Those times I was not in the university, but I was politically active and looking at him and all that. So I believe that he has what it takes to lead the party. If the party want to be fair and candid, I believe that these are fine men who should be the new face to change the fortunes of the party.
I see. I didn't think that these qualities in the history would be enough for a political party to want to choose them. If you look at the tradition and culture of how people become flag bearers, there's a term sellable. He's popular, more marketable. Do you see that with him?
He's marketable. He can fit into any position within the party, and he's gunning for the presidency. You need somebody with vision. Right. Person whose vision goes beyond the party or his ethnic group. He has that. Okay. He has a national appeal, all right, that he is able to find his bearings with everybody within the party, both at the grassroots level and at the top echelons of the party. He is somebody that has impeccable record, and he has really worked for his party. Remember, politics is nothing but contest of ideas. That's why he is a man of ideas and referendum of your work. What work have you done? He started off as an engineer. Not only that, but he has also worked in politics to get to the highest level. So I believe that this should be an icing of the cake if the party really want to consider people who have what it takes. And remember, he has age on his side. Among all the things that we are looking at, that generation that they are losing, the young among them cannot fit into that category. So he has more time to lead a party and then also soldier on and build a party. The party, one of the things that I have listened to him over the years that he keep hammering on is that let us bring back the glory, the days of glory of the NPP and all that. And people who have worked as foot soldiers and then holding party positions, they are the best people to share this type of water. He has a lot of constituencies. All right. In politics, you need somebody who is also has a lot of constituencies. What are his constituencies? He appeals to professionals. He appeals to intellectuals and of course rank and file because he's a party man. Remember, he also comes from Ashanti region and is also a strong card for the NPP in all that. Yes. And here I'm talking about regionalist politics is very, very critical when these things are also brought to the fore. So he has a lot. And remember, he has also found engagement with the media when he was the head of the media. I work at the presidency. I work as a reporter at, the presidential press corps. I was in there and I was quiet and I was watching his workings when we were all there and all that. And I saw and all that. And of course, he's somebody who is marketable and can be packaged.
Okay. Could you have the newspaper?
I think, so the Daily Gist, Julius Debra test presidential waters in Akwetia, anger in military over scrapping of key allowances, Cabinet Japan files for MPP presidential race, AFAX convicted for beating Howard Compson, MPP expands voter register ahead of 2026 presidential primaries, I bankrolled Baumia, Akufo-Addo Brian Brax, Medal of GIS officer, the inside story. Also on the front page of the Custodian, MPP adds more delegates for presidential primary. Want-to-me radio stations closures are to silence our voices, Ashanti MPP youth. Also, TIP petitions EOCO over alleged Galamsey excavator deals, and Ghana drops in 2025 Global Peace Index.
Well, so Kujo and gentlemen, so Oti region is recording a little over 10,000 typhoid cases since January this year. What started in little numbers, our reporter Peter Senri has been following this. Little numbers finally surged to a little over 10,000 typhoid cases. Dr. Jabiu, this is one of the news stories that the Ghanaian publisher is reporting, despite us even reporting it yesterday in the news. Have you seen this and how do you feel about this?
Well, this is a disease that anybody can get because it is as a result of death and others. So I think that we have to ensure that we increase our sanitation level. The goal 6 of the SDG talks about clean water and sanitation. We need to have clean water. We need to have good sanitation in our environment. And if we are able to have that, I think that we'll be able to curb some of these problems. So I will charge the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Water and Sanitation to work hard to ensure that all of these places are clean and clean very well, so that our people will be away from these kind of diseases. And I also charge the people to be proactive in terms of the way they handle themselves around the community, because this can continue to spread. And if it continues to spread, it is endangering the lives of the people. So let's work very hard to ensure that we are able to resolve this particular case.
Okay. Savannah, so to tackle this crisis, particularly in the OT region, the OT Regional Coordinating Council has partnered with environmental health officers to launch a sanitation task force. Now, the body is mandated to roll out comprehensive sanitation program, strengthen waste disposal system, and promote clean water initiatives across the region. And again, late last week in Parliament, the Parliament Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources is actually pushing an increase of sanitation levy from 10 pesos to 50 pesos. They actually want to ring-fence this particular levy, if approved, so that we have a dedicated fund in funding the fight against sanitation challenges in this country. Yes, do you agree to the increment of the 10 pesos to 50 pesos and making it a dedicated fund? And if so, are you convinced about the decentralization of how we fight our sanitation in this country?
Absolutely not. I think in the past, these things have been created for people to loot and share, and the evidence is there. Very soon, we would let Ghanaians know how the monies from the sanitation and pollution levy were expended, and this is a fact. So, if there is any attempt to increase another levy or the same levy, I would say emphatically that it is a process to create more and loot more. So for me, it's absolutely not. In terms of the management of our sanitation, the problem is the same. Read the Auditor General's report, and it will tell you the number of cases, the number of district assemblies that wrote to the District Assembly's Common Fund to say that, look, we have a sanitation contract with the Jospron Group, Zoom Lion, or whatever it is. Work was not done, so please don't deduct from our common fund allocation, and yet it was deducted, or yet they are always deducted. I think the problem in this country is that maybe previous governments, governments have not been serious with the management of our sanitation. If you look at the Ministry of Water Resources, and I think it was Water Resources and Sanitation under Akufo-Addo's regime, and the kinds of payments that they were making, quarterly, month on month, year on year, still to the same Jospron Group that has all the contracts in this country, about 90% of the contracts in this country awarded to companies under the same group, you would come to the same conclusion, that it is just a scheme to rob the people. And I don't think that the people of Ghana should sit down and accept any attempt to increase anything like sanitation levy or whatever it is. As I have said, it's just a scheme to create and loot and share.
Okay, all right. So that's a call there that we should all say no to that particular increment. But let's take you to Gbenyiri, because over the past few days we've not had some good news coming from there. There's been renewed communal clashes in that part of the country, and yesterday the IGP led a high-powered security delegation to the area to understand the issue and how they can really deal with it. Let's listen to the IGP speak to the press after the meeting with leaders of that community. And when we come, we'll take you straight to Gbenyiri in the Solar Tuna-Kalba district of the Savannah region, where land dispute has resulted in communal clashes. Let's just listen to the IGP now. Our correspondent will be joining us shortly, but first, let's just listen to the IGP. All right, so we'll bring the IGPQ later, IGP sound later, but let's bring in Isaac Noya, who's standing by to bring us update. Isaac, what's happening on the ground now?
Well, currently, many people are still fleeing, despite the measures put in place by the IGP, in the sense that they don't trust what is happening, they don't trust the level of security for their protection, and they feel that until they are able to escape from the districts, they will not be saved. Then that is why you see a lot of people line up, walking from their homes to any destination that they can get to and be saved. As of yesterday, in the night between 9 and 10 p.m., you saw a good number of children and women walking, carrying their luggages and their properties, the few that they can carry, to wherever they can find themselves. At the Tona police station, you saw even residents who were a family at Tona, said that they ran away from their homes to the police station because the information they are picking is not anything for them to stay back and then able to live and sleep there. So to sleep at the police station is better for them. And they were there. We saw a pregnant woman and 3 of her children also lie in the open at the police station. Now, those who were at home managed to Tona town were trying to find their way barefoot from Tona to Sola. And the distance is more than 10 kilometers. If you are lucky to get a vehicle, you join me. If not, they were walking in the darkness while going. And we're also told that additional 5 other people were shot and died and killed. I mean, in the Bola district, they said 2 people. If you come to that of the Sola Tuna-Kalba district, they were talking about 4 people. And these are all happening in the periphery of the 2 districts, because in the farming communities where many people have escaped to the bush and then are hiding in farms, at least when they exchange the gunfire over there, virtually others will pass on, others will be injured. And the casualties, not all the casualties are being recorded or being attended to, because they don't know where they are. I will speak now.
Okay, interesting. I mean, yesterday the IGP assured the chiefs of the area that they were doing everything they could to ensure that they bring the matter under control. When we spoke to your colleague, reporter with Adom FM, she gave us an update on what the IGP, together with the other security capos, were going to do in the other communities. What do we know today in terms of the outcome of those trips by the IGP and the leaders of the security capos?
Well, the IGP commanded the chiefs to hold on to peace and then not further doing much that will worsen the situation. He also gave them his assurance that for the fact that his men are on the ground, he will do everything to bring more additional people and measures in place so that they will not have more destruction. And these are things that are continuing to happen. The IGP said this, and he's committed to make sure that things are not happening. I mean, more deaths and casualties are not recorded. If you look at what happened at Beiri, where the chief palace was attacked, there were men stationed there, and we're told that they moved a little bit to escort some people outside the terrain who wanted to move to Sola. But on the return, the chief palace was attacked, his tractor bent, and no one was found to be culpable of what has happened. And so the level of suspicion, tension, and insecurity among these residents has heightened to the extent that you saw people just open their doors ajar and left the town, left the communities, and you meet some who will tell you that, look, it's safe to be walking on the road trying to get to a safer place than to remain in our homes and to be killed. We met an elderly man in his late 60s at Ginovore. When he saw our team, he tried to escape, but he was rounded up and asked why. He said he was sick and could not walk, and there was no way he could run. So he has to remain where he is. Whatever will happen to him, and that will be his fate. So the elderly, mostly the men, they have remained home. And even the women who are also elderly, they are escaping alongside with their children and their grandchildren.
Okay.
Well, let's thank you, Isaac, for bringing us updates this morning. But let's stay in Beiri and hear from some of the residents who are faced with this challenge.
Yes.
If you disconnect the key. From where? You know, it's a pin. When they lock the door, no matter how it is.
On stairs is locked.
Yes. We thank you for your visit. People can come back to their settlements and then go about their normal duties. So because of that, I'm here with the regional minister, the DCE, the NIB from Accra, that is the Director General NIB, and also with the GOC of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Dolphin sector. Is also here. The REXEC also follow up. And then we met the young Maura, who also decided to give us a delegation to follow us, because he controls all this area, so that they will see to themselves what has happened to the jurisdictions that you people are controlling. So they are also first.
We brought you earlier the sound from the residents, their reaction, and as well the IGP also addressing the people. But let's wrap our news review with our guest today. Maybe I should go to Dr. Asante. We'll take your final words. And our correspondent has been bringing us the current update in Beiri. It looks like despite the deployment of a little over 300 police personnel, there's still some fear in the community.
Obviously, such a tense situation, people will be afraid. But the good news is that the soldiers are there to keep the security. I listened to the officer commanding. They're talking, assuring the chief that they shouldn't worry and that they will protect them and all that. And I trust Ghana Army when it comes to their duty. They don't cut corners. They will do a good job there. And we also want to appeal to the people on that let peace prevail. Whatever there is in terms of issue, they should sit down and then talk and allow peace to prevail, right? Don't start war. You'll find it difficult to end. That's my message, and I'm appealing to them.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Asante. Sulemana, final words? Do I still have him?
Well,
okay.
Yes. Well, it's quite unfortunate. I want to believe that the appropriate measures will be put in place to calm down the situation. As Ansa Asante said, it's difficult to end a war when it has started. This, I believe, is in the Savannah region. I keep hearing Bali and those places. This is the backyard of His Excellency the President, and I think that the people there should appreciate that peace is needed for development, and whatever the grievances are, I believe it could be resolved peacefully, and that is our appeal. The security agencies also have a role to play, basically to give assurance to the people that they can trust that their safety is secured, so that those who feel insecure, those who are mistrusting the situation, will have the trust and the confidence to stay back. And when things like this happen, especially the plight of women and children become what is, quite devastating. And so I think the earlier steps are, measures are put in place to secure the situation, the better for all of us. So we hope that conditions will come to normal very soon.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Maybe Dr. Jabu, please.
Well, 9 people died, 18 people injured. This is very serious. Lives and properties have been lost. I believe that the people can come together. They have been living together for a very long time. I see no reason why they should continue to have this kind of challenge. So they should stay together and resolve the case amicably. And I also believe that the security forces are there, and they are there to protect them. At the end of the day, I hope that the Ghana Police Service, the Army, will do a good job. If the situation continues to escalate, maybe we may have to do a state of emergency by putting in the curfew there for some time so that we can control the situation and return the place back to normalcy.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today for our news review. Dr. Wassa Amenfi is the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Savannah Brima is the executive director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, and Dr. Jabir is with the University of Ghana Business School. Thanks very much for being a part of us. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with our big stories here on the AM Show Tuesday.
Well, thank you for staying with us here on the AM Show. The AM Show is sponsored by Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. Now, we take a look at that sector. Expected to rake in $8.3 billion per year by 2027, and a destination for an estimated 4.3 million people from around the world. We're taking Ghana's tourism industry and how Ghana is harnessing this potential for our benefits. It's a big tourism conversation right here in the studio. And Professor Kokode-Nwamase, CEO, Ghana Tourism Development Company, joins us here in the studio. I cannot wait to dig deep. I'm one of the confused persons who is not really getting clarity over the overlapping mandates of your side and then the authority as well. I'm sure that by the time we're done with this conversation, you bring some clarity to it. So, Kojo, we can go on.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So let's start from, how different this tourism development company is from the authority.
Excellent. But yeah, I can't talk about it without referring to Chakra Days. I know from way back, yes, Chakra Day. Obviously, we're just talking about
New Chakra Day and the Monkey Hill Nazi.
Yeah, so we'll try and see whether we can throw some spotlights. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yes. So, MFA, the Ghana Tourism Authority and Ghana Tourism Development Company, there's no overlap actually. I think that the mandates are clear.
Okay.
And let me say that Ghana Tourism Authority gave birth to Ghana Tourism Development Company.
Okay.
Yeah, in 1972.
Okay.
Now, the authority is responsible for regulations, responsible for promoting tourism in Ghana. What that means is that the authority actually represents the entirety of the Ghana tourism at world stage. So when there's a world travel market, for example, authority will go and signpost or set up, at Ghana's desk and show people what is in Ghana. What the authority cannot do is to say that, I want to come to Ghana as a tourist. Then the authority would then, curate a product and say, we are charging X amount of money to come to Ghana.
Okay.
The authority cannot do that bit. That bit is my mandate.
Okay.
For government. So I am responsible for commercializing tourism, for government, i.e. going to the market, selling tourism products and services and taking the money to government. But the authority supervises all of us, including the private sector, okay. All our, activities. They have to make sure that we are complying on the regulatory frameworks. So the compliance issues, quality issues, the authority is responsible for that. And then they will represent the country abroad in terms of telling the whole world what we have in Ghana. But then they cannot commercialize because obviously they are set up as an act. They get their sources of funding from the tourism levy, obviously government and assistance, etc. But I have to go to the market and compete.
So you are more like a tour company,
absolutely.
But for government.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So in 1972, it used to be part of the authority, then at the time called the board. But then they hive it off because you cannot be the referee and the player at the same time. So the government then hived that commercialization part off to set up a GTDC. And our mandate is about mobilizing resources for investment. So international, locally, and then, of course, ensuring the development of the tourism. Again, the activities that we do, as well as other private sector, sectors, players do, all contribute to promoting tourism, in the country. But of course, the activities that we perform, the mandates are quite different. So I have to ensure that, I get in investors, and we say that we're supposed to have a minority equity share on behalf of government. So if MFA decides to build a hotel in Ghana, and then they seek our assistance and we help, we take a little bit and say, okay, 20% share for government, for the assistance that we're providing you, etc. So we take a minority share.
So far, what's some of the infrastructure in the tourism industry that you say you have some shares in there on behalf of government?
Okay, so we have what we call Asemanso, what we call the slave bus.
Oh, okay. The one in Asemanso.
Exactly. So we with the traditional council, Apemenim, the traditional council, manage that particular site. So we represent government in that particular. So it's under my jurisdiction. So we have to help, sort of manage the place. If there are any issues, we have to make sure that we seek investment into the place.
And also curate events that would attract people there.
We also have the big tree, on that big tree. We also manage that with Forestry Commission, the Traditional Council, and then, of course, the District Assembly. Now, we have to expand, the areas that we have that kind of a mandate to manage. But we are also going digital, and that's why we're doing this big conversation. We think that the country should have systems that can actually ensure sustainability of our tourism. And so we are putting up what we call Ghana Tourism Investment Platform. GTIP is a web-based platform, and the website is called investintourism.org. We will transition to investintourism.gov.gh, as NITA is helping us to do. Now, the idea is we need to identify most of the investable tourism areas that are viable.
So the platform is what we have on the screens now.
Yeah, so this is two platforms. This is Ghana Tourism Marketplace. This is investable. Okay, exactly. Investintourism.org. So that's the platform that's going to list all the potential tourism places that we have to invest in.
Okay.
We think, in our estimation, it's going to be the biggest, investable tourism platform in Africa.
Okay.
All the 261 districts, we're going to list them. The investment tourism investable areas of the 16 regions. So we have already started profiling some of them. Now, if you go into investment, the section that says investment, you would realize that we have already profiled some projects there, including Konkon Wonderland, and then, of course, Center of the World Golf Course, which is in Tema.
Okay.
All right. So we profile them. Now, we show the investors the updates on infrastructure. So, for example, road. If you look at the trunk road from Accra to, let's say, Tema, we'll give you the number of the kilometers, the distances that are tarred, all right? And then, of course, the town roads leading to the tourism site, again, the distances that are tarred or untarred, and then the access road, all right? We give you updates on water, whether water is available and alternative sources of water. We'll give you updates on electricity, power. We'll give you updates on internet. We'll give you all these updates. So if you're an investor, you have a one-stop shop to know areas that you can invest in, what is available, what is not available, and how you should prepare, towards that. Again, we tell you what the area can be used for, all right? And then we'll tell you how you can make your money.
Okay.
All right, so you can make your money through this. So we suggest to you.
Okay.
All right. But then also we present to you the various agencies responsible for you to deal with. For example, your registration. Ghana Tourism Authority has to certify. They have to give you permits. They have to give you. We have all that there. You have to go to Register of Companies. to do A, B, C, D, E. You have to go to Ghana Investment Promotion Council. Maybe if you're looking for some benefits or some kind of incentives, you have to go to GRA. We have all those information on that platform. So before you actually step into Ghana, let's say you're coming from the US, you already know the documentation you need to have, the processes that you need to go through, and you are clear about where you want to invest, the district you want to invest, the region you want to invest. Before you come to us, I mean, you've already started,
But does this suggest that those who seem to be interested are not in this country locally? They're outside?
No, both locally. In fact, one of the target groups that I want to, visit is the Kobu businessmen.
Okay.
I want to visit them, but I want to go there prepared with my platform, so that when I'm telling them the opportunities that they can invest in, they can see.
Okay.
They would be able to. For me, it's not about talking. It's about showing evidences, because the days of talking is over. We have to have a sustainable systems, and that's why we're developing.
In putting this together, the Ghana Tourism Investments Platform, in putting it together, did you come by some structural challenges, genuine challenges?
I mean, the challenge has always been money. To be very honest, the place has no budget.
Your company?
Yeah, there has no budget. We have to look for money to get things done. But we need to move.
It's a company, though. Did you anticipate that?
Well, of course, as a business student, I'm from the business school, so you know that, systems are supposed to be supported with budget. And of course, being a company, you've got to go out there and look for money.
So what's on the screen now is the Tourism Investment Hub?
Yeah, Tourism Investment Hub, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you go into it, there are sections of it, partners. So you can see the categories of the areas: heritage, culture, ecotourism, agro-tourism, hospitality, infrastructure. So whichever one that you are looking for, you can click. Now, there is a reporting at the back end that my minister can generate a report and say, okay, we know that we have about 500 kilometers of tourism routes that are either tarred or untarred. We have a certain areas that we don't have water, potable water, but we have alternative water sources. So it has a whole reporting at the back end that can help us make decisions in terms of how much we need to invest in a particular tourism area. And it covers the entire country. By the time we're done, we'll be having one of the biggest investable tourism platforms in Africa.
We know that one of the biggest challenges to tourism development in this country, you mentioned earlier, is bad roads. There are places that have beautiful tourism, tourist sites, but the roads leading to them are terrible. So in inviting investors to bring in money, what is government or what are you going to do to make sure that I, as the investor, will feel that, okay, if I put money here, because the road is good, I can rake back my money?
Obviously, tourism is a bundled product. It is not a one unitary product. So it bothers on so many structures. For example, as you mentioned road, you would also mention water. Obviously internet, obviously electricity. So tourism's ecosystem is bigger, all right? So I know for a fact that my minister had been in contact with all these sector ministers, looking at how we can actually upgrade on these infrastructure types. All right. I mean, especially roads. I know for a fact that my minister had been very much in touch with the road minister to look at how do we invest in the tourism roads. Just as we have cocoa roads, we have tourism roads, right? And as you pointed out, if the road networks to the tourism sites aren't good, of course, people would find it difficult visiting that. So it's very, very important that we look at the connecting point and make sure that we develop not only roads, but water, all right, internet. Because these days, what's the first thing that a tourist does? I mean, immediately you get to a site, you take a selfie. Right? You put it on Twitter, you put it on Facebook. Very, very important. It's not trivial because you have to announce that you have reached the place peacefully, successfully, especially when they are coming to Africa. There's so many anxieties, all right? And so to make sure that people feel comfortable, all these infrastructure types have to be available. So we have to be in contact with almost all the sectors that bother on tourism, in order that we can improve. And I know that my minister is actually doing that.
So there's a plan to attend to that.
Absolutely.
Because
and that's why one of the plans is this. Because you see, if we don't have a holistic view of how many kilometer roads, or what's the distance of kilometer roads that are leading to tourism sites that are untarred, we can't make a decision. So when we build this system, we have a database, we have data that we can actually lead us to decisions to make this happen. Because if you want to commit a budget, you should know what's the size of the issue that you're talking about. So if you know that you have about 5,000 kilometer roads that are untarred leading to tourism in a space, you can then commit budgets to that. But not only that, in terms of the Ghana Tourism Investment Platform, we also have Ghana Tourism Marketplace.
Okay.
We're saying that we need to have a sustainable drive towards domestic tourism as well as international arrivals. So we have developed this platform where we're going to onboard all the vendors onto it. Again, it will be one of the biggest. So if you want to book your hotel, you can book it on there. If you want to book a car rental, you want to rent a car, you can do it there. A tour guide, you can have it there. All these vendors are going to be verified, all right, so that people have trust, confidence in it. You can make payment to your favorite national theater play. You can buy the ticket there and then pay there. The money goes straight to the vendor. You get your receipt, your ticket, and then you go to National Theatre. Because we need to promote these things. And people have to have a very convenient one-stop shop to make these things happen. I remember my very good friend, senior professor, Akosia Adumako, in December. He said he was a colleague, a friend of hers visited from the US, and they wanted to go to National Theatre to see a play. They couldn't find, any. They were looking for online and they couldn't find anything.
Information is not available.
Exactly. And I told Prof that I will solve it. And I'm happy to go back to you and say, Prof, I've solved it. So if you look at the screen...
And that's the marketplace.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you look at the screen, and I can tell you, none of the even big players in African tourism have this. If you look at the screen, on your right, far right, are the events that are happening in the country. So you can click on it and then you can see Ghana, you see theater there. So if you go to theater, and they will be they will be shown at the right-hand side what is happening in the country. So when you click on it, it would open up and then you can buy the ticket, all right? Yeah, you can book events. You can actually go to the National Theatre. You can pay your museum tickets. We're going to, obviously we are one of the agencies with museums, all right? So we're going to put all the museums, discuss with Blankson to see how best we can actually push all the museums, including the castles. So before you go there, you're buying your ticket there. And we're making sure that all these things are done on one platform. Eventually, we don't have to wait till end of year to know how much receipts that have come into tourism. My minister can sit in her office and know that we have, by the mid of the year, we have X amount of money as tourism receipts. We don't have to wait because the system aggregates everything.
I was asking you about the roads because, and you mentioned castles and museums, and that brought me to a community called Butre.
Yeah.
You remember the story about Butre? It's a historic place.
Fascinating.
But the road leading to Butre is so terrible. There's a small hill there, just before you get into the community, that is bad in time it rains.
Yeah.
So for such a community that can drive a lot of tourists because of the history, the road isn't good.
Yeah.
Is there a strategy, even in the meantime, before the ministry comes on board, to get some sort of intervention for such a road to some strategic places like Butre that its story can drive a lot of tourists there?
I suppose, the conversation has been, and don't forget, the president has talked about Black Star Experience, has talked about, the idea that everywhere in the country must feel the same, must have the same quality. The president has talked about 24-hour, 365 days. When you come to the country, you have to have the same feeling as you would in December. So the approach is that we have to go out there and look for investment for all these things. Because the reality is that government budget is limited. Take it or leave it. So it is my responsibility to make sure that I can go out there and tell people about Butre. I cannot go there and say it with my mouth. And that's why the platform is there. I can actually, profile Butre, put the videos there, put it on the system, show photos, show how people can make their money back when they invest. And then I can have the confidence to talk about them at international investment platforms. And so I had said that I am not going to any platform to just speak with my mouth. I have to go there with evidence. And by God's grace, we've started to doing that. And definitely, Butre, like any other place, will be covered. And then hopefully we can actually bring in the necessary investment.
On the marketplace, how do you make the money? From the vendors or from the consumer?
Currently, we're discussing the pricing. I mean, how we generate money. Of course, one of the models, as a business student, your revenue model. All right, so one of the revenue model is a surcharge. So 1 cedi. I mean, if you buy your tickets there and then we surcharge you 1 cedi, I don't think it's bad because we're giving you the convenience to do that. So you can buy your Kwame Nkrumah Memorial, tickets there from the marketplace before you go there. And we've had, myself and colleagues have had a lot of talks. We're looking forward to making sure that we can make this attractive. Don't forget, this is only the infrastructure. It's a 3-stage approach. We call it infrastructure, strategy, and a backbone. I'll not tell you the rest of it. I'll hold you in suspense. But now is the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is done. We're meeting all the stakeholders. We're discussing it, letting them to tell us what else do they think we should take out, we should add on, etc. Then we'll finalize the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is done, the strategy kicks in. And I'm telling you, you'll be blown by the strategy. I keep telling people that you have over 200 plus media houses, all right, all talking about what is happening in the country. And they have to be factual. Obviously, there are disturbances in the country. There are corruption issues you have to report, etc. And all of you have online presence. So what does that mean? Both bad news and good news are going online through the media. So how do we respond as tourism? We have to let our responsibility is making sure that the country looks good. Your responsibility is making sure that you put the country as factual as possible to the people. So there's a competing issues here. So I don't have to let you trump me with your factual. All right. So my responsibility is to drive the tourism industry onto the internet. So if MFA has a TikTok account and is showing all these beautiful things, I've been to Butre and this is nice and come to Ghana, it's restricted on TikTok. How do I push you onto the search engine? Okay. So that your beautiful video counters Kojo's corruption issue. You get my point? That's what I call the strategy. So going forward, if you type in tourism, Ghana has to be first. And it has to be a good story, not corruption story.
I see that moving forward, you're having the big tourism conversation, September 3.
Yes.
But before that, we won't get to know what you're doing. You've said all the nice things now, but what kind of Ghana Tourism Development Company did you inherit for you to want to take it on such a speed level?
I won't mince words. Terrible. Terrible. I mean, for 3 months, we were struggling to even pay salaries. It was absolutely atrocious. But we will turn it around. The president said we are resetting the country. We are resetting Ghana Tourism Development Company. And we have already done that. The staff morale is very high. From the driver to everybody else know that we are really transitioning. And I can promise you, we'll actually reset for the president to be happy. My minister to be the best minister in this administration. We're doing it.
Let's talk about the big tourism conversation. It's happening on September 3, 10 a.m.
Accra City Hotel.
Accra City Hotel.
They were generous enough to give us sponsorship. Because they know we don't have money.
So free?
Absolutely. In fact, people are willing to help us, to succeed. I've had a conversation. Yesterday, I had a conversation with one of the biggest advertising agencies in the country. They're going to come on board, the marketplace. I've had one of the major banks want to come on board on the marketplace. Everybody is willing to help us, and we will succeed.
You're talking about these two nice initiatives that you're introducing.
Yes.
Stakeholder conversation for them
because the stakeholders should be able to tell us what they want to see on the marketplace, what they want us to take out. It's a shared system. I call it a shared ownership platform. So when, for example, Gatof or Tuga or car rental company, when they participate in it and we raise the money, we share with them so that they can also use it to manage their associations. That's how I see it. So it's going to be a shared platform where everybody wins, not only GTDC taking.
So this big conversation is focusing on.
So the big conversation is saying that the stakeholders should come. We will present to them the infrastructure. We will show them the various modules of the platform, and they will give us feedback as in, oh, change this, put this section, etc. And then we'll go back and finalize it and launch it. Now, one of the interesting things is that the competition now is going to be region-based. So very soon you see hotels in Koforidua having given us 70% discount on all accommodation. And then Sekenita Krade has to respond. We call it TIV, Tourism Incentive Vouchers.
Okay.
Yeah. You know Poriels on Instagram where people, the young people.
Poriels?
Yes. We are bringing Poriels into the tourism scene.
Okay.
So you will see Black Friday, hooray, tourism bonanza. Go to Senchi, all hotels reduced by certain percentage.
Do you envisage this just being a rebranding, or you envisage it becoming big policies?
It is a complete turnaround of the tourism sector.
Who are the stakeholders coming on?
Ghana Hotels Association.
Okay.
Absolutely committed to us. TUGA, Ghana Tourism Operators Union.
Okay.
We have GATOF, Ghana Tourism Federation. And we have so many other players, car rentals, traditional caterers, the Chefs Association. I mean, call them. All of them are coming to, because everybody recognizes that we need to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Everybody recognizes that we need innovation in the system. We need to let our tourism excite. When I see South African tourism adverts, at the airport area, I bleed. I said, no, I have to take the competition to South Africa. I have to match them boots for boots. So my target is making sure that Ghana tourism will be the number one. And when you type tourism anywhere, Europe, America, etc., Ghana has to show up.
Stay with me. We'll wrap this conversation, but I'll take you to the Ashanti region. Now, traders at the Swame Post Office Market in the Ashanti region are counting their losses after a late-night fire destroyed over 100 shops. The inferno reportedly started in the wee hours of Tuesday morning and tore through the market, raising properties and various items sold at the market, which could run into millions of cedis. Now, my colleague Nanaya Ojima is on standby to bring us update. Nanaya, what's the situation like over there?
As you can see, we are still within the Swame Post Office Market, and this shop that you have in your shop now stocks vehicle engines and other parts, and these vehicle engines and other parts are completely destroyed by the fire. As you can see, they are trying to bring out the few they can salvage. Now, the information that I have from some of the owners is that these engines are completely destroyed now. All they will have to use is, or it's used now, is for them to use them to remake other things. They will have to melt down the metals and, if possible, use them for other things within the Swame enclave, magazine enclave. So these are men trying to bring out the engines that have been completely destroyed by the fire. I have with me the owner of the shop here who looks on, supervising what these men are doing now. Ofa, Kafra, ya konso. Na, then artist incident.
Me na mufie na on frame me ka kire me. I ram be 10:30 evening time. And on frame me ka kire me. Timtie ne man na. Tim me rush ba be so na de ese me yan hwɛ nyi. Echi ansa na mo de mo free fast service. Be na je se bibia aye na se bibia hye. Me be na bibia hye wi. Tim yan hwɛ nyi. Ene me ko fa be last week kwa yento makokora an ni na go no. Scale could you buy it? 1.5 years ago. Scaling now, you talk about crowd and nashi. See, you know, the abandon is a baba quemwa. And Yamakwa, Jumana, you see, Yamwa. Gana Sembasia, and one of Hana Coffee, Robo, Kawasamas, Hanabo. Told them one age, Scannerson, why somewhere, and the crowd, you be crowd bedding. Go see, no more, no more the coin, what the heading. The same day, where you said, I share you, the Australian, if you just say, you to tune the condemn. This is to condemn. I say, Inji, Ijaka, I say, a woman, crankshaft no jaka intimate any beam. What I say, alternate people will be assessed and this is to now it won't condemn. You might be there.
So all that he is saying is that whatever you see them bringing out here, it's of no use. Now they'll have to sell it out for other people who will not buy it as much as they expect to get from their goods. They'll have to use it for as condemned. If there are some parts they can take it out, these people will take them out and the others will be let go. So this is one of the affected shops within the enclave. He says he spent over 150,000 cedis importing all these engines. You see them bent. There's another shop which also stocks engines, and the shop is also completely destroyed by the fire. As you can see, this place is very close to the Swami Magazine enclave, and the issue is that a lot of the people with shops at the Magazine enclave have warehouses here where they stock their things. So if you come to the shop and they are unable to get you the exact good that you need, they come in here and try to get it for you. So these are warehouses lined up on this line, and they all stock engines and other vehicle parts. Let me try to speak to this man. He's one of the people who have their wares destroyed. Let's try get a few words from him. Ofa, let's say Arahosem Panes, not anything.
Fear and 12 o'clock. And I'm in your course. I've been a course not started about any part of community. So, baby, I'm in my good no ash. Jehona, in fact, me am shaming. And I'm if you chronom to the bed 10 minutes, Nama drew her. To me drew Hana and Pame by me, say, Jadda Hanuma to say, fire service for nobody can Abahanum, try, say, or Medumjana. And 10 years I become home. And I really dear. 12 o'clock now up to 7 o'clock, say, dear. The normal Nigina say, the Bedumjana, so Yanko say, I do. A Janet Miaba from Kamakaka.
Now, assessment and never know one between for Bibiako.
Stores in the media. And Yama Wahani no Yama Seno semi estimated is around $200,000. I because in Wahano they have Fukra Umkran 25,000 cities 25,000 Ghana cities. They have Fukra Umkran. The engines are sense no Brew 50. Brew 50. And I didn't say just can I say they are say Jade and side there. They just can't be on my between for you. And I say be also the condemn.
So he says he has two shops here. They are close to each other and both shops are completely destroyed. These are warehouses and he stocks engines. He says at least he has lost about $200,000 to this fire. As you can see, the other people who are also salvaging a few of their wares, they also sell vehicle parts. Mami, when are they?
Rings.
Rings.
Rings. Spare parts. Rings. Can't want to see one money na. And money you stole ni na yes. We say absorb ni na say. Ain't mean to.
This is a Camry shock absorber. That's a Toyota Camry shock absorber, and it's completely destroyed. They have rings and other engine parts, which are all completely destroyed. As you can see, they are trying to bring out a few that they will be able to salvage. Now, this market, as I said earlier, has a lot of goods put out for sale. It's not a commodity market. But so they sell different commodities in here. So out here on this line are engine parts. We are trying to get access to the market itself. As you can see, the fire is not completely doused now. According to the fire service, they are still on the ground trying to completely do away with the fire. They came here somewhere around midnight and they've been fighting the fire since. Since there are some goods or some things which are highly flammable, it's been difficult for them to fight this fire. According to the fire service, as they were fighting the fire, there were explosions of gas in there. And when we came here, we've seen some gas cylinders and others all within the market. Inside the market is where foodstuffs are being sold. These shops that stock foodstuffs are completely destroyed. Now the NADMO and the police service and also the fire service are all on the ground trying to ensure that they protect the goods that have been left and also the lives of the people in here. As you can see, this is one of the shop owners trying to salvage a few of the things that he's able to get from his shop. So this is inside the market. This is where over 120 stores and shops have been destroyed completely by the fire. As you can see, smoke continues to emanate from some of these shops. The fire service are still around trying to completely douse the flame. They tell me that they found it very difficult getting access to this place. Why? Because there's no entry, there's no access road. So they had to join their hose and extend to where the fire was before they were able to douse the flame. As you can see, or I can see one of the NADMO officers trying to prevent people from getting access. These are people who have their wares destroyed by the fire. They are all trying to come in, see the extent of damage, and if possible, try to salvage some of the things they have in here. But due to safety concerns, the NADMO and the fire service and other agencies are trying to prevent them from getting access to this area. So this is the extent of damage that have been done to the market, the Swami Post Office market here within the Swami municipality.
Thank you for bringing us updates from the Ashanti region. Quite a sad one. It's not a good one for the Ashanti region this year in terms of fire outbreak. I'm not sure, or I don't recall you telling us what the fire service said is the initial cause of fire. But when you lay your hands on that, you can share with us. So on your screen now is the remains of what's happened in the Swami magazine enclave in the market, where you know that it's quite popular for spare parts, and shop owners telling how much they've lost so far. Now, back here in the studio, we still have Professor Kwame telling us about that big conversation and his plans for the Ghana Tourism Development Company. You're telling us the people that are coming in, what to expect. And you say this plan of yours would generate about nearly how much a year?
Well, if we go by the numbers that we put out in the tourism report, remember we brought about 1.2 million people, about almost 1.3 million people into the country. Now, if all of them are going through the marketplace and we are surcharging $1, that can tell you how much we're earning. Okay. But of course, we shouldn't be too ambitious. So if you look at it, 25% of those numbers come. So we've done the numbers and we're quite sure of what we're getting. And that's why it's attracted partners. People are excited about that. So yes, we know that we can turn around GTDC with this kind of, But what excites me is the places that I've been going. And I was telling you, I've been to Galosota, Professor Wosonu, amazing man. Look, if all of us had passion for our hometowns like Professor Wosonu, we would have turned Ghana around. He's championing development of his area, Galosota. So we were there this Sunday to cover the place. There's a huge ecotourism park. You will be amazed the kind of the species of plants there. And some intriguing stuff. We found a wild goat. I have never seen wild goat before.
Imagine. Goat. Thank you to the Volta region.
That's it. Goat that does not reside at home. They're not residents. They're in the wild. Okay. The black goats. I was so shocked by that. They have beautiful waterfront. They have this water that you can do, water sports. Okay. So we took a boat ride. They have crocodile pond. Yes, they have crocodile pond.
You don't have to go all the way to Paga?
No, there's crocodile pond in Galosota. I was amazed. Anyway. so many beautiful, and then there's this huge mangrove, area that could be used for carbon, offsetting program, carbon offsetting schemes, So I think that we have so many amazing things. I've been to Keji, again, the Togbi took me around and then they showed us some places. And one thing that I want to do in Keji, the land reclamation that was done in PNDC, I think NDC era, so Rawlinson's time, they reclaimed the land and then they built the settlement. Most of the Keta area is in the sea. Okay. We want to do a receptive, facility where we want to call all the photos of the old places that are now in the sea, blow them up, and then compare that with a new settlement. So you can imagine the engineering excellence that actually took place. That you'll be wowed by that. All right, and these are some of the things that we have to go into. So if somebody is telling me my house now is in the sea, you can see, because you can see the old photos compared with the new photos, and you can imagine the entire road is in the sea. So if you have those old roads, people's schools, primary schools that they went to are in the sea now. All right. I mean, I saw a Kwashiga school that has now been taken over, in Keta. Yeah. I mean, in Keji, it's in Keji.
Close, yeah.
Close, exactly. Look, these are amazing places, all right, that we need to. We went to Fort Presenstein, of course, So we are really covering some amazing stuff that the country has, and hopefully we can showcase it to the world for them to come and invest in it. And of course, our own people, that if you have money and you're looking at where to invest, we say that what? Invest in tourism. Come in tourism, go to investingtourism.org. Now it would be investingtourism.gov.gh. And you will see some fascinating things that you can push your money in, So I think that I'm thrilled by that. And for my team, we are going all out.
And I guess for those who are watching us and are thrilled by the things you've said so far and want to say, invest in the sector, there will be some support for them along the way, not in terms of probably say money, but guidance.
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing. We want to help, our what do you call festivals, for example. Our traditional council had to make the festival sustainable. When I say sustainable, all fronts, economic, socio-cultural, etc. How do we ensure that a festival generates the needed money in order that you'll be able to invest and organize it year on year? These are the strategies that we want to bring forth, all right? For example, if it's Hube, we can mount Hube on the Ghana Tourism Marketplace. We can get payment systems. We already have payment systems, so we can put an account of the traditional council and market Hube big time so that people in Europe, in America, in the Ghanaian resident diaspora, in all these countries, can come to Hube through Ghana Tourism Marketplace.
Are you having a challenge with indigents or maybe traditional leaders who hold dearly to their hearts festivals, and maybe you may have to tweak and turn a few things around so it looks more appealing or attractive for tourists? Are you having a challenge with that?
No. I think that these are our cultural assets. We have to protect them. We do not have to, conventional, I mean, if I should put it, make it much more of a too much of a newness, if I should use that word instead. So we have to preserve them. There are reasons for their existence. They hold true meaning to who we are. I think the support systems is what we need to revitalize. For example, all right, accommodation, for example. We are now thinking about tenting, because the hotels are expensive for young people to participate. If you want to go to Uber for 1 week, and I can assure you, young people cannot be there for 1 week because of the hotel bills. How do we come out with much more of new ways of accommodation so that young people can participate and can actually grow that taste so that in future they can go to Uber? So we're thinking about tenting accommodation. We have had quite a number of people who are approaching us and say we can invest in that. We're in talks with them, right? Again, how do we ensure that people have let's say transport, all right? And that's why we're putting up rentals on our system. So MFA can rent a bus and get all her girls onto, instead of everybody driving to the place, which would be expensive. And when you go there, you have a tenting accommodation where you can have, bath, etc. So we're thinking about innovative ways to make these things possible, and to make them very attractive for people to participate in.
After the big conversation, when can we check in to see the progress of these?
We're going live. In fact, immediately after the stakeholder engagement, when we get their feedback and we go back to the system and then iron out, we're going live. I'm hoping that by September first week, the program is on the 3rd. By second week of September, when we had embedded all the corrections and etc. that stakeholders had, we'll be going live. So by mid-September, But for the invest in tourism is already live.
Okay.
We are updating as and when we cover the places.
Let's take a trip to the airport areas. Have you had any complaints from tourists or travelers coming in with the attitude of, say, drivers, Uber drivers, people trying to extort money, not making their stay here in Ghana very pleasant? Have you had complaints?
Most of these feedback will go to Ghana Tourism Authority. But as I mentioned, as part of our three-pronged approach, we're developing what we call the backbone. So very soon we're going to have a call center where people can have hotlines and call in and tell us about issues in tourism. Remember, we have December coming in, and we're going to have influx of the diaspora. There must be a hotline that people can say, I left my something in Uber, and then you give us details and we track Uber. These are plans that we want to, that's what we call it the backbone. So we have an infrastructure strategy and a backbone to make it sustainable. So very soon we're going to see all these things.
How are the other private sector players in the industry taking your innovations, for example?
I have a massive support from them. And that's why, in fact, this stakeholder is because we have had engagement and all of them are committed to this shared platform. So the event is the culmination of ongoing conversations that we've had. All right, Tuga, Gatov, Car Rental, Chef, Ghana Hotels Association. In fact, I've been with the president most of the time, and we've discussed how do we retool the tourism sector. So everybody is high-spirited to ensure this innovation happens.
Do they have a share in the revenues that you'll be raking in?
Yeah, that's what we call a share ownership framework.
Okay.
So based on the contribution of your sector, at the end of the year, we determine a percentage and pay it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not going to be grab all by GTDC, no.
How are you going to ensure that these platforms don't become very bureaucratic, another form of bureaucracy, instead of it facilitating investment?
So long as I lead this one, I'm from the business school, I know how to put systems that make it much more participatory. I don't know whether you hear the word TAMS, technology adoption, kind of it's a theory. If you want people to participate in things, you remove bureaucracies. You make it as obviously attractive as possible, but of course you ensure securities, you ensure that people can have trust in it. But it's easy to use and they see relevance in the usage of it. So you can bet all my business school theories are going into, we're talking about AI. Look, it's a big thing. Once the data is there, AI is deployed. It's AI embedded. So, but you cannot work with AI until you have data. So once we have the platform set up, everything else, you can put in, I have 5,000, where do I go? And then the system will tell, hi, MFA, if you have 5,000, you can visit A, B, C, D, E.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you can imagine all my theories are into this. That's how we do it. We have to apply what we teach,
Okay. So we are all waiting for the outcome of this big conversation that will be coming up on the 3rd, and then we see where we'll take the Tourism Development Company to from where we are. You've discussed the platform and all, or what have you, but when you sit and look into the future, where do you see the TDC?
Exciting. I see a very exciting future. I see a very revitalized GTDC. I see a GTDC that would lead the modernization of our tourism space. We have to chart the course for the private sector to make money, for the private sector to be successful. So for me, I see our role as being innovators, leading our private sector to be very successful.
Okay.
And I'm taking the fight to the big players.
Okay.
South Africa, Kenya, that's where I want to take the fight to.
Thank you very much.
Wish you all the best with it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, for hosting.
Professor Kobe Mensah, CEO of the Ghana Tourism Development Company. New Kwadaso with show.
One time.
We shall take you now live to the New Palms by Eagle Hotel, because Fidelity Bank has a live coverage on JoyNews and as well on Joy FM. And the theme is Sustainability Month Conference. We'll take you there now.